hope you're doing cool, calm and collective. Today I want to focus more on the audio. So this video technically doesn't have a active video, just a black screen, because I really want you guys to relax. This is bedtime story, and most people when they're sleeping or they want to really have a deep relaxation moment or session, they like to have darkness, which is why I've had pretty much presented a dark atmosphere to reflect on what most people do at bedtime. There are probably exceptions to the rule to this. There's probably somebody who likes to sleep with the lights on or lights, but I think it's safe to say that the majority of people, when they're sleeping, that they like to sleep and have some type of darkness to it. So I've already pretty much laid out the setting. So what I'm going to do now is, the plan is to read a book. So I'm going to read a book to you guys, and I really want you guys to fall asleep, relax, whatever it is that you want to do. I'm here to achieve that goal. So I've got a book in front of me, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pretty much describe the situation to you so you can envision rather than have a video. So I'm going to just let you guys know that the book that I'm reading is called The Queen's Nose. It's an orange book, and it's by, the author is Dick King-Smith, and it also has some small white writing which says The Master of Animal Adventures. So I'm just going to turn the page now. The first page has just been turned. There's a little summary of the book inside. I'm not going to read that to you, I'm just going to skip over that. So the book is going to be turned again. The page has been turned. And again, it's got some writing. Looks like it's just having some recommendations of what other books by the same author that you can read. eyes. She looked as though she wouldn't say boo to a goose. This was true in one sense, for she wouldn't have said anything so silly. A goose was one of the dozen of different creatures she dreamed about owning. As she sat on her tea chest, Harmony longed for an animal of her own. I wish I could, she said to Rex Rothmonty. As well as you know I mean. Rex Rothmonty was a dog of 59. He had only one eye. The other dropped out. He had first belonged to Harmony's grandmother and had originally been a rich chocolate colour and quite hairy. Now he was grey and bald all over. He was recognisable, some sort of large terrier, and Airedale perhaps. Three of his legs were still quite stiff, but the fourth foreleg was squidgy and elongated, and even more hairless than the rest of him. It was by this leg that Harmony always carried him. Why do you have to be so mean? She said. Let's turn that page over. She picked up Rex Rothmonty, who was standing on the tea chest awkwardly, tipped over on his soft leg with his blind side towards her, and turned him around. You tell me, she said, staring earnestly into his eye. Why they have to be so stupid about the whole thing. It isn't as though I wanted an elephant, or half a dozen chimpanzees, or a trouble of liberty horses. I mean, I wouldn't have mind all of those, but I'll settle for a pair of mice, or a gerbil. But they won't let me, and you know why, don't you? Harmony waited for 10 seconds. Perhaps you would have having a telephone conversation and then continued. Exactly. You're probably right, Rex Rothmonty. Mummy thinks animals are dirty and carry diseases. There was another pause. Who? Oh, Daddy, well, he's just not interested. Doesn't like animals. I'm not even sure if he likes people much. Pause. Except her, of course. You're right, I forgot about Simple Sissy. Simple Sissy was Harmony's elder sister, Melody. She was 14 and supposedly her father's favourite. She thought a great deal about her hair and her clothes. She referred to Rex Rothmonty as a filthy beast and called his owner Harm. So what can I do? She kept on wishing you say, wishing it will make you so, you say. Rex Rothmonty, I wish it was as easy as that. And Harmony picked him up by his soft leg and undid the catch of the chicken house door. She walked slowly up the orchard, swinging Rex Rothmonty gently from side to side. There had to have been a summer show, and the long grass that was wet. It felt pleasantly cool against her legs, and on who sat in the room behind the French windows. The first was a kind of hurried, throaty grunting, bubbling, coughing roar, not very deep in tone to be sure, but of a ferocity that was heart-stopping. And the second was a loud scream. "Oh, my nerves can't stand it," cried Mrs. Parker, leaving her plump self out of her armchair. What on earth was that? Her husband placed the fingertips of his fingers together and looked carefully at them over his half-glasses. "I fear," he said acidly, "that you have sent poor Medley into an ambush." What a vivid imitation of the sound of a wild animal can only have been the work of her younger daughter. Mr. Parker always referred to Harmony thus. He looked over his fingertips at the man sitting opposite. "I imagine," he said, "that you, Ginger, with your encyclopedic knowledge of beasts." Turn the page over. I can see a picture right now of the two girls. May actually have recognized the sound. "Bengal tiger," said the other without hesitation. "Heard only one last month, up at Bud. Just before I came on leave, didn't know there was any in Wimbledon." At this moment, two fingers burst in from the garden. One, the man called Ginger could see, was fair-haired, with very large brown eyes, an expression of angelic innocence. The other was larger and darker, and obviously just taken a nasty tumble. Rather frilly summer frock was damp and rumpled and marked with grass stains. "Melody, darling," cried Mrs. Parker, "whatever?" The victims of the ambush was torn between bursting into tears of rage or attacking a younger sister, disliking the first alternative as too babyish and misleading. The second was too dangerous, for Harmony was a gutter fighter, no hold barred. She fled the room, her mother in anxious attendance. "Melody," said Mrs. Parker in a wavery voice, "this is my brother, and therefore your uncle. Home on leave from India. I think he has never met you. At this moment I can only consider him fortunate. If you will excuse me." He rose and moved heavily out of the room. "I'm Melody," said Harmony. She put out a rather dirty hand. The man stood up and shook it with a very large one. Just turn that page again. "My name's Henry," he said, "but everybody calls me Ginger." They looked at each other with interest. One small girl, bare-legged, dressed in a pair of old jeans that had been hacked off at the knees, and a faded t-shirt which advised him to save the whale. Her feet were not clean, and she smelled faintly of chickens. The other undoubtedly saw an animal long time ago. Harmony firmly decided that, with a few exceptions, animals were nicer than humans. People that knew her or met her therefore saw in her mind that the ease of direction across, admired her Siamese reflection in a large looking glass. Not her hair was out of place on her glossy coat, and her long tailed curled elegantly round her nest of feet. Now looking at Uncle Ginger, bulky and tweedy, those large hands hanging loosely at the end of very long arms, Harmony instantly recognized a bear, and not just any bear, for though the collar that had given him his nickname still held good in beard and mustache, the plentiful hair on his head was speckled with early grey, a silver-tipped grizzly. They both spoke at once. "You're not much like Daddy," said Harmony. "You're not much like your sister," said the Silvertip, and they laughed comfortably together. "Would you like to see the garden?" Harmony said. "I'll show you my den." Tiger's den. "Oh, you knew that I was pretending to be. Of course you would if you've been spent a long time in India. Though there aren't many left, I believe, not many. Have you ever seen one in the jungle, I mean?" "Yes, quite a few, and it does very good imitation." How would you know the kind of noise an angry tiger makes?" "Oh, films on telly. I'd have heard them at the zoo. Not angry, but hungry. Don't think I expect you don't like zoos." "I'm not sure. I know good things about them. I just feed the animals and feel they ought to be happy. And you can't be happy unless you're free." They reached the chicken's house. The Silvertip quickly bowed over. Him doubled to get through the door, was politely offered the tea chest, and sat down on it. Head bowed under the low roof, long arms dangling, he looked at Harmony balanced in a perch. "You're pretty keen on animals, are you?" he said. "Yes, I like animals. More than what?" "More than most things. What have you got?" Let's turn that page again. "Animals, you mean?" "Yes." There was a pause. "None," said Harmony. Uncle Ginger raised his head rather sharply. "And this and that in the chicken house roof?" "No dog," he said. "No cat. No rabbits, guinea pigs, mice, budgies, nothing." Harmony shook her head. She scuffled at the floor with a big bare toe, making large capital letters in the powdery mix of old sawdust that covered it. Uncle Ginger, sitting opposite, read the word upside down. It said dirty. "That's what Mummy and Daddy think animals are," said Harmony in a flat voice. "The only way I'm only to get any animal is by a sort of magic." "You believe in magic, Uncle Ginger?" "Yes, I do. They have lots of magic in India, don't they? Rope tricks and snake charmers and people lying on bed, nails and stuff." "Yes. You know anything about magic yourself?" "A bit. Gosh, I wish you would use some sort of it. While you're here, by the way, how long are you here for?" "Couple of weeks." They looked at each other. "No," said Uncle Ginger, smiling through his beard. "I'm not just going to go to your parents and say Harmony ought to have a puppy or a rabbit or something. That's between you and them, but I might be able to help." "Oh, I wish you would." They made their way out of the chicken house, and Uncle Ginger stretched himself. He looked up at the sky blue, and then down at the brown eyes watching him. days. Sometimes the silver-tipped grizzly put a big paw on her shoulder and nodded his head. Sometimes he said, okay, now this is going on to chapter 2. So chapter 2 is treasure hunt. So those first 2 weeks of the summer holidays seemed to Harmony to go in a flash. She woke up one morning with the certain feeling that there was something nasty about that particular day. Of course, Uncle Ginger was going first down to Devonshire to stay with some friends and then back to India. It was a lovely summer morning, just the sort where usually Harmony would be in a hurry and outside, leaving the sea lion and the pouty pigeon snoring their distant snores, and the Siamese curled up lazily in her neat bed. But this morning she laid still, Rex rough Monty by her side, and thought about everything that had happened. What a lot of treats they had. Uncle Ginger had taken them into all sorts of things. Sometimes our family, but mostly just the 2 girls. Once he had gone alone to the National History Museum because Simple Sissy had said she had a headache, and Harmony had wondered if there would be any more talk about magic. I might be able to help. That's what the silver tip had said, but there wasn't, and now he wasn't going. And another thing, she said to Rex Rough Monty, he's bought everybody presents except me, flowers and chocolate for Mummy, cigarettes for Daddy, a frock for Simple Sissy. What do you know about that? Jealous, you say? I'm jealous. Oh, come on. Rex Rough Monty, of course I'm not. Then the thought occurred to her, not just that she hadn't given a present, but that she hadn't been given a present either. She decided to give Rex Rough Monty the credit. Of course, are absolutely right. You're always. He's saving up for my present. Till before he goes, because it's something very special, of course. Harmony suddenly felt ridiculously happy. She laid in bed a lot longer, making faces for the benefit of her one-sided audience. First she made a jealous face, pulling the corners of her mouth down, gritting her teeth and nostrils flaring. Eyebrows burrowed. Then she gradually changed this, through a sudden realizing face. Eyebrows raised, eyebrows and mouth slowly opening wide to a ridiculously happy face, split right across in a huge grin. Of course it was something very special, but what? It wouldn't be a pet of any kind. Uncle Ginger had said he wouldn't interfere with that. Turn that page again. But it might be a book about animals, perhaps, or maybe model animals for the farm, which was spread all over her bedroom floor. A very mixed farm it was, for zebras and deer mingled with the cows, the hippos among the pigs, and ostriches among the chickens. And on the shiny glass surface of the whole dog pond, a crocodile barred his ever-open jaws, or perhaps surprisingly, her mind moved for a moment away from birds and bees. It would be a football. He knew she would be keen on that. It couldn't be that pair of brilliant red and gold football stockings she's always longed for. She hadn't told anybody about them, or possibly usual for his office in the city, watching the two brothers say their goodbyes. Harmony thought how unlike they were, as unlike indeed as you'd expect a sea lion and a silver-tipped grizzly to be. One she would see again that evening, the other, goodness knows when. Perhaps her heart suddenly felt as though someone had squeezed it. I wished Uncle Ginger wasn't going, she said, silently to Rexwolf, laying upside down on her lap. Turning that page again. I wish. Her lips must have moved, because the silver-tipped grinned and said, wishing again, Harmony. Harmony felt to herself go very red, and was glad that the powder pigeon had fluttered by to her preen. Herself and the Siamese had slid away to stare into the long-looking grass. Ginger saw the blush and changed the subject. Oh, by the way, he said, I've got a present for you. It isn't much, but it'll help. I'll go up and get it. Anyway, I must collect my bags and make a start. I've got quite a long drive. And you went out the room with his rolling grizzly gait. Harmony sat still on both hands and fingers, but crossed. Everyone liked to get him presents, but more and more she had come to feel as if it was one that was going to be very special. It's not much, he said, so it wouldn't be a bike. A watch, perhaps, a digital watch, with a thick leather strap, not a silly little ornament, or one like simple Sissy's. It might be one of those pens that wrote in 6 different colours. And that is all. I hope you enjoyed this reading session, and good night to you.